Is pirate radio, proper AM, FM.
Really? Yeah. Still?
Yeah, it's great.
What are they playing?
Really heavy trance and drum and bass.
No fucking way.
Like 24/7.
Really?
Yeah, it's the way forward.
On
AM?
FM?
No,
On
FM
FM?
motor. Yeah, it's great.
I find that really hard. I'm amazed.
It's been going for a really long time. We're talking probably 15-mile radius outside Colchester in Essex.
Where the fuck's that station? Where is it transmitting from? They've got to be moving now.
No, I think it's pretty much static science. But it's outside technology, it's great. So it's like, the internet is great and that kind of capacity, but there's still those people out there who are broadcasting.
That actually want to do it old school.
Sensation.
Bloody hell.
When you turn on the radio in London, you hear a lot of different things. There's world news.
Together, even if we're disagreeing on really quite painful and difficult things.
Classic rock. And of course, popular music. But as you turn your dial, you might hear some sounds that aren't exactly what you'd expect from a typical commercial broadcast. These stations hidden between the static are known as pirate radio, and collectively, they have been helping to popularize underground music for over half a century. But today's world of pirate radio is much different than it was in the past. From offshore to onshore to online, the broadcasting system of pirate radio has made a lot of changes. I met up with some pirate radio DJs in the UK to learn more about the current state of this historical music phenomenon.
So basically I got into radio through another artist, a guy who also runs a record label called Flex Out Audio. So he kind of took me along as a guest DJ on a couple of shows, and then we started just splitting the show, so we do it week on, week off sort of thing, and now I do a slot every other week.
We started doing it because we wanted to represent the underrepresented in the area, the young people, also people who like different genres of music, such as drum and bass, dubstep, hip hop, and we thought, right, there's a gap in the area. It's not being fulfilled by any of the licensed stations, so we felt it was right to bring something in.
Now, underground stations, what are considered to be kind of pirate, with the advent of the internet, there's kind of legal loopholes that they kind of slip under.
I think it's common knowledge that pirate stations are moving more and more towards the internet and using internet streams, but they still want to be on FM, so they'll relay their internet stream to FM.
There's kind of like two different routes. You've got the internet route, which is the kind of legal side, and then a lot of them still do the radio receivers as well to appeal to an audience.
It's been there for so long, it's been there a long time. You know, online internet radio, I know it's been around about 20 years or so, but the main crux of it's been the last 10 years, and I'd say probably only in the last 5 it's been widely available.
You get a very different crowd coming through on the radio receivers, and it's generally an older audience, because Real FM has been around for so long. that, you know, you've got people who've been listening to it for almost 20 years.
Do you think pirate radio will ever stop broadcasting on FM?
Only when nobody has an FM set left. That could be like, you know, when the cars replace all FM sets with, say, some kind of DAB equivalent or internet radio.
Okay.
But until such time, I don't believe that it'll ever die.
Why were these? I mean, these are so-called socialist Labour lefties, and they're saying, "Oh, we don't want any independent broadcasting other than the BBC."
Well, yeah, because it's commercial and it's beyond the control of government. So, I mean, all governments don't like stuff which is out of their control, don't they?
So depressing, isn't it?
Yeah,
Why don't governments actually foster freedom? Why don't they do that?
Well, you tell me. I mean, that's a big story, the big question that will run and run and run. I mean, all political parties say we're in favour of freedom, we love freedom, we want to free people up from the...
As soon as anyone actually tries to do it, they close them down.
Yeah, indeed, yeah.
Nowadays, it's easier to operate a pirate radio station without being caught. And even though it's still legal and streamed on FM, there are ways to make broadcasting much safer than it ever was before.
We have a radio transmitter, an antenna to broadcast the signal, and also at that location is a link to pick up either a stream off the internet or a incoming radio signal from a studio based elsewhere. And what that does is, obviously, it protects the studio from being hit if there's a raid.
Yeah, they can track down the signal of the receiver, but obviously because the receiver's so far away, no one's going to come knocking down the door as easy.
So instead of losing all your studio equipment and your records and everything else, you just lose the box effectively in an aerial.
Yeah, many years ago you had to kind of move location quite a bit, or just at least move the receivers around. And because you can stream it a lot further, you know, just so far away.
New technologies have helped to make pirate radio safer, but that hasn't stopped it from having the same troubles of the past.
There's always this kind of push and pull thing against the regulators.
Most of the time, the result of it being turned off is because of the authorities.
Something like rude, like the FM receiver will go down every now and then because people, you know, sneak into the buildings where the receiver is and just take it down.
The authorities can find it. There's no question about whether they can find it or not. It's just that you don't want to make their job easy.
Not a concern really. That doesn't really pop into my mind. Not enough for it to kind of put me off it. But there is always this thing in the back of my mind thinking like, this is technically a little bit illegal.
I'm quite a big fan generally. I quite like the concept of like
pirate radio is fucking brilliant.
And I think it's great that people are still doing it on that kind of level, because at the point that you push on to the internet, kind of, it's great because you get a wider audience, but there's a good percentage that's lost of what it's about.
Yeah, there is so much stuff on the internet, so many different radio stations to pick and choose from, that you just don't know what to pick and choose from unless you're really on the ball and know your DJs or whatever. But I do remember that, you know, there would be a techno back in the 90s, a techno station, and it's just like, you knew when it happened, you tune in, and it's just like, fucking, that's there is no political sort of, we just did this radio station on the internet. It was, yeah, round and round.
That's great. It was talking to me and Freddie, like, me and Freddie got in the car going like this and something. You've done it at 7, 8 in the morning. I'm playing hard trance on Sunday. It's like, oh, you turn it on, it's like, job done.
Yeah.
With a computer, it's very much a one-person experience. You know what I mean? Whereas if you're in a car with people, there's a few people around. I guess what the computers do is kind of divides everybody up a little bit.
The authenticity of a radio broadcast feels much more prominent when you hear it through the wireless, through the FM, as opposed to an online stream.
I'll find more people online kind of commenting it as individuals, whereas on the studio phone, you'll get like a group texting in or saying like, I'm with these people, we're listening, give us a shout sort of thing. So I think people do listen to it more communally through the FM, which makes it, I guess, more of an enjoyable experience.
Some people disagree with pirate radio's new online existence, but others see the benefit to this newly developed form of listening to the radio.
You've got the kind of internet stream, and it will tell you where people are tuning in from. And, you go to America, you go to Colombia, Finland, all these sorts of places where traditionally it would just be streamed within London.
With internet radio and with the new 3G and 4G mobile services, it makes it all that much more accessible to listening to radio stations online.
I'm 26 and I'm so, I've been surrounded by internet for as long as I can remember, and it's become such a part of our life. I think a lot of people discover radio stations through the internet still, or, especially in my kind of age range. Yeah. A lot of people still discover through the internet.
On occasions, what we do is we play out sort of guest mixes, and these are mixes that are sent in either via SoundCloud or some other internet link or a CD.
So yeah, it definitely takes it to a worldwide audience. And the same thing with the music as a whole, not just pirate radio. You've got DJs flying out to Japan, India, places because of the internet. It's carried the music much further afield.
The internet has definitely helped to spread electronic dance music on the global level. However, the heart of pirate radio is still deeply rooted in the nightclubs of London. I was lucky enough to get permission to film during a local drum and bass concert for the record label Horizons Music at the well-known nightclub Plan B in Brixton.
Severity and jealousy, you get wrapped up helplessly, allegedly, the enemies. Severity, helplessly, I got caught up in your empathy, your empathy.
People are getting their source of music from rips, and as a pirate radio station, maybe the exposure wouldn't be so much,
It's all about the petition movement, the legality of good dance club music, which is becoming a mainstream vibe.
It's like the evolution of a scene. I don't like using that word, but it's like the evolution of a scene, evolution of technology.
You've got Spyro's Grime Hour, Sunday nights. You've got regular grime, you've got Cozzy, you've got Big Nasty coming in there, you've got Big H, Jammer, all of them lot still spitting their bars on that hour. And that's how people get, that's what I'm saying, bro. That's how people get their music.
These DJs coming through, they're doing a little remix, they're coming through a little bit unique. Whatever they're doing, man, it's coming through, it's number 1 to 10. This is the next movement.
There's no pressure from chart music, there's no pressure from other artists to include that song in that hour, trying to upsell it. It's all about what that DJ is feeling. And so there's still that freedom from the underground, but putting it into the mainstream, it brings a more legitimate side to it.
It feels like it's a kind of underground, dirty world, But at the end of the day, it's all about music, and it's all about product, and it's all about, okay, can this guy mix? Is this guy playing good tunes? And whether that's listening, for me, whether that's listening to actually on the radio, or whether that's listening to the internet, I don't care. As long as it's good, as long as it's great mixing, as long as the guy has a passion, which you can tell straight away. If someone's mixing, you know within 5 minutes whether they have a passion for it or not.
Marking there, yeah. Yeah, I thought you would be. Yeah, what's going on?
I'm just doing an interview, Craig.
Yeah, are you nearly done or?
Huh?
Yeah. He's not going to go fabric.
I'm going with you.
Yeah.
I'm coming with you.
We're good, but that's good.
Are we good? Are we done?
Yeah, I want to go to fabric with you guys.
Yeah, are you? Fucking awesome.
Let me get my friend.